Do you feel like your life is harder than everyone else's? Like the burdens you carry are heavier, more unjust? Let me ask you this. Why do you think that is? Could it be possible that your struggles aren't punishments, but signals, clear and undeniable signs that you've been chosen for something greater? Think about it. Why else would you face so much resistance? Why else would every step forward feel like climbing a mountain with the weight of the world on your back? The truth is, chosen ones always face the hardest battles. Their paths are paved with challenges because their calling is extraordinary. But here's the key. Those challenges are not meant to break you. They are meant to shape you into the person you are always destined to become. The Bible reminds us of this truth. In Psalm 34:19 it says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all." Did you catch that? Many are the afflictions. Yes, there will be many. But the promise is clear. Deliverance is guaranteed. You are not abandoned in your struggles. You are being refined. What if the pain you're feeling today is a divine signal, a whisper from God that you are being prepared for something far greater than you can imagine? What if your tears are watering the seeds of your destiny? I challenge you to stop looking at your trials as punishments and start seeing them as preparation. By the end of this journey, you will no longer question why you face so many challenges. Instead, you will understand their purpose, and that understanding will unlock a power inside you that you never knew existed. Today, you will learn to rise above your struggles and walk boldly in the truth that you were chosen for such a time as this. You think no one understands what you're going through, that the pain you carry, the battles you fight, are yours alone. But what if I told you that others have walked through the same dark valleys? What if I told you that the path you're on is part of a greater story, one that connects you to the strongest, most resilient people in history? Consider Joseph. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and then falsely accused and thrown into prison. For years it seemed like his life was nothing but a series of unjust trials. Imagine the loneliness, the sense of abandonment, the endless questions of why. Yet, it was through those very trials that God was preparing Joseph for something extraordinary. At the right time, he was elevated to a position of power as governor of Egypt, saving countless lives, including the same family that betrayed him. Do you see the pattern? The chosen ones, those marked by God for a divine purpose, always face the hardest roads. Their stories are filled with betrayal, isolation, and pain. But those hardships are not the end of their stories. They are the beginning of their transformation. Now, let me ask you this. Can you see how your adversities might be shaping you for something greater? What if the struggles you face today are like hidden pieces of a puzzle that will one day reveal a masterpiece? You are not here by accident. The trials you endure are part of your preparation. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt is a step toward the fulfillment of your calling. You are not alone. Others who were chosen before you have faced the same struggles. They survived, they thrived, and so will you. What you feel now is temporary, but the victory waiting for you is eternal. You think you're being punished, don't you? That the hardships you're facing are some cruel twist of fate. But what if I told you that you're not being punished at all? What if I told you that you're being tested, refined, and prepared? Picture this. A sculptor stands before a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it's just a cold, lifeless stone. But to the sculptor, there's a masterpiece hidden inside. Every strike of the chisel, every fragment that falls away, is necessary to reveal the beauty within. That's what God is doing with you. The challenges you're facing are His chisel, shaping you into the person He created you to be. The Bible speaks to this process in Romans 5:3. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Do you see it? Suffering isn't a punishment, it's a process. A divine process that builds perseverance, character, and strength. Every trial you endure is a piece of your transformation, a step closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. Think about the fires you've walked through. Have they destroyed you, or have they revealed something within you that you didn't know was there? Maybe you've discovered courage, resilience, or a faith you never knew you had. These are not accidents. They are intentional works of God. Now, here's the real question. What are you learning in the midst of this pain? What truths about yourself and about God are being uncovered in the fire? Don't waste this season by dwelling on why it's happening. Instead, ask what it's teaching you. Every challenge is a lesson, every hardship a step closer to your destiny. The pain of today is the foundation of tomorrow's victory. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. You've been through enough battles to know how they make you feel, exhausted, broken, and wondering if you'll ever make it through. But have you noticed something else? Something stirring deep inside you, even in your weakest moments? That's your strength. It's not the kind of strength you see in movies or read about in fairy tales. It's real, it's raw, and it's uniquely yours. The truth is, challenges don't come to chosen ones to destroy them. They come to awaken what's already within. Every difficulty, every heartbreak, and every setback peels back a layer of who you thought you were and reveals who you truly are. Think about the times when you faced impossible situations. Did you give up? Or did you find yourself digging deeper, standing firmer, and fighting harder than you ever thought you could? This is no coincidence. God doesn't waste pain. Every moment of struggle is a moment of discovery. You are stronger than you realize, and your challenges are proof of that. The Bible reminds us of this in 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When you feel weakest, God's power steps in to carry you, not because you're failing, but because He's teaching you to rely on Him. Look at David. He wasn't a warrior when he stood before Goliath. He was a shepherd boy, the youngest and least likely to succeed, but when the time came, the strength he had cultivated in the fields, strength that no one else noticed, was revealed. His courage didn't come out of nowhere. It was built through years of unseen challenges. Just like David, your battles today are preparing you for victories you can't even imagine. Think about your life right now. What battles are you facing? What situations seem impossible? Instead of asking, "Why me?" start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Pain Barren is a teacher, and it often reveals lessons about resilience, perseverance, and faith that you could never learn otherwise. You might not see it now, but the strength you're building in this season will carry you into the next. God has already placed everything you need inside you, but sometimes that strength can only be revealed through pressure. Just as a diamond is formed under intense heat and pressure, so too is the strength of the chosen. What looks like pain is actually transformation. What feels like breaking is actually reshaping. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and truly saw yourself? Not just the person you think you are, but the warrior God is calling you to be. It's easy to get caught up in your flaws, your failures, and your fears. But God sees something different. He sees someone strong, capable, and ready. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Strength isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up every day, even when it feels impossible. It's about trusting that God is with you, even when you feel alone. Remember, He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Your challenges are a gift, even if they don't feel like it. They're uncovering the strength you didn't know you had and proving that you are exactly who God says you are. So, stand tall, face your battles. And remember, the strength you're discovering now is the foundation for everything God is building in you. Have you ever wondered why life feels like a constant battle? Why it seems like every time you stand up, something tries to knock you down again? It's not random, it's not meaningless. Every single struggle is tied to something far greater, your purpose. You see, God doesn't waste pain. Every challenge you face, every tear you shed, is part of a plan so intricate, so divine, that you couldn't comprehend it even if He showed you the full picture right now. But here's what you need to know. There's a purpose behind your struggles, and that purpose is bigger than you. Think about it this way. When a builder starts constructing a castle, the first step isn't laying down gold or hanging chandeliers. It's the foundation, the digging, the leveling, the pouring of concrete, all the hard, dirty, back-breaking work that no one sees. That's what your struggles are. They're the foundation for something magnificent, something eternal. You might not see the castle yet, but God is already designing it. The Bible confirms this truth in Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Did you hear that? All things. Not just the good days, not just the victories, but the struggles, the heartbreaks, and even the moments you felt abandoned. Every single one of those experiences is being woven into the story of your purpose. Think about the stories of those who came before you. Moses faced rejection and exile before he became the leader who parted the Red Sea. Esther risked her life in silence before she saved her people. Joseph endured betrayal and years of imprisonment before he saved an entire nation from famine. Each of them had a purpose, but it was the struggle that prepared them for it. Now, let's talk about you. What if every obstacle you're facing is part of God's divine plan to prepare you? What if the rejection you've felt, the pain you've endured, and the battles you've fought are building something in you that will bless others? You weren't chosen to live a small, insignificant life. You were chosen to be a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope for others who are still searching for their purpose. But there's a question you have to ask yourself right now. Are these challenges drawing you closer to your purpose, or are they pulling you further away? Are you letting the pain push you into despair, or are you using it to fuel your faith? The truth is, the choice is yours. God has already set the stage for your purpose, but it's up to you to step into it. Here's the hard truth. Walking in your purpose isn't easy. It means surrendering your plans for God's plans. It means trusting Him when nothing makes sense. It means believing that the pain you're enduring isn't pointless, but preparation. It's refining you, shaping you, and making you ready for the very thing you've been called to do. Have you noticed how some of the most powerful voices come from the most broken places? The people who've endured the most often have the most to give. That's because their purpose was birthed from their pain. They didn't let their struggles define them. They let God use those struggles to transform them. Let me ask you, what are you going to do with your pain? Will you let it define you, or will you let it propel you toward your purpose? Because here's the truth. God doesn't call you to something without equipping you for it. He's not asking you to fight these battles alone. He's asking you to trust Him, to keep going, and to believe that every single moment of struggle has meaning. The purpose behind your struggles isn't just for you. It's for the world. It's so you can stand up one day and say, I went through the fire and God brought me through. Your testimony will be the proof that He is faithful, and your purpose will bring glory to His name. It's hard to see blessings when you're in the middle of a storm. When your heart is heavy and your spirit is weary, the idea of blessings hiding within your struggles might feel impossible. But what if I told you that some of the greatest gifts in your life are wrapped in the very challenges you wish you could escape? Look at the story of Joseph once more. Sold into slavery by his brothers, falsely accused, and thrown into prison, his life was one tragedy after another. Yet, in the end, Joseph became the second most powerful man in Egypt, saving not only the nation, but also the very family that betrayed him. What looked like a series of curses was, in fact, the hand of God positioning Joseph for his destiny. The same is true for Job. He lost everything, his family, his wealth, and his health. At his lowest point, it must have seemed like God had abandoned him. But Job didn't give up. He held on even when he didn't understand. And in the end, God restored Job's life, giving him double what he had lost. His story wasn't about the loss. It was about the faithfulness of a God who turns ashes into beauty. Now, think about your own life. What if the very thing that's breaking your heart today is the thing God will use to bless you tomorrow? The Bible reminds us in James 1:12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." Do you see it? The blessing doesn't come despite the trial, it comes because of it. But here's the thing. Blessings in disguise are easy to miss if you're not looking for them. Pain has a way of narrowing our vision, making us focus only on what's wrong. It's natural to ask, Why me, or when will this end? But what if instead you started asking, God, what are you trying to show me? What gift is hidden in this pain? Sometimes the blessing is a lesson. Sometimes it's a strength you didn't know you had. And sometimes it's a new path, a new opportunity, or a new perspective that you couldn't have discovered any other way. The challenge is trusting that those blessings exist, even when you can't see them yet. Remember, God's timing is perfect. The blessings He has for you may not come when you expect them, but they will come. And when they do, they will make sense of every tear you've cried and every sleepless night you've endured. What feels like a setback now is often a setup for something greater. Let me ask you this. Are you willing to believe that your struggles are not in vain? Are you ready to trust that the blessings God has for you are worth every ounce of pain you're experiencing? Because here's the truth. What you face today is temporary, but the blessings waiting for you are eternal. Hold on, keep going. The God who turned Joseph's prison into a palace and Job's loss into abundance is the same God who is working in your life. The blessings are there. You just need to trust Him enough to see them. If there's one thing that separates the chosen from everyone else, it's their faith. Not just faith when things are easy or when prayers are answered quickly, but faith when the world feels like it's falling apart. Faith that holds on when nothing makes sense. Faith that trusts in the unseen, in the promises of God, even when the evidence around you screams the opposite. The Bible says in Hebrews 11:6, without faith, it is impossible to please God. Why? Because faith is the currency of heaven. It's what bridges the gap between the promises God has made and the reality you're living in right now. Faith is what keeps you moving forward when everything inside you says to stop. Let me give you an image. Imagine a seed planted deep in the soil. It's buried in darkness, surrounded by dirt, and cut off from the light. To an outsider, it might look like the seed is lost, suffocated, or forgotten. But what's happening beneath the surface is something miraculous. The darkness isn't killing the seed, it's activating its growth. And in time, that same seed will break through the ground, stronger and more vibrant than it ever could have been without the process. That seed is you, and the soil you're buried in is your faith. Faith grows strongest in the silence, in the waiting, in the moments when you feel like God is far away. But here's the truth. He's never been closer. The silence isn't abandonment, it's preparation. It's in these moments that God is teaching you to trust His heart, even when you don't understand His plan. Think about Jesus in the storm. The disciples were panicked, convinced they were going to drown. And where was Jesus? Asleep. But when they called on Him, He stood up and calmed the wind and waves with a single command. Did He do it because the storm was too strong? No. He did it to show them that their faith had the power to overcome even the most violent storms. Now, let's bring this to you. What storms are you facing today? What winds are blowing against you, making you doubt if you'll ever make it through? Let me ask you this. Do you trust that the same God who calmed the storm for His disciples can calm the storms in your life? Do you believe that His promises are still true, even when the waves are crashing around you? Faith isn't just about believing in God when the sun is shining. It's about holding on to Him when the sky is dark, when the rain is relentless, and when you can't see what's ahead. Faith is your shield, your anchor, and your weapon. It's what gives you the strength to fight battles you can't win on your own. Let me encourage you, don't give up. Don't let the storm take your focus off the one who controls it. The God who called you is faithful to complete the work He started in you. He doesn't make mistakes, He doesn't break promises, and He doesn't abandon His chosen ones. When you feel weak, remember this. Your faith doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Even a mustard seed of faith can move mountains. So take that seed, plant it in the soil of trust, and watch what God will grow in your life. You've been chosen, and your faith is the key to unlocking the purpose, the blessings, and the victory that God has already prepared for you. The storm isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your breakthrough.